Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back once again to Fat Cat Collections. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys another Pagani design. Now this is one of Pagani's newest releases, and if you guys are wondering what this is a homage to a Panerai, the Luminor, I believe. So, and again, don't quote me 100% on that. I'm not familiar with all the Panerais, but it is a Panerai-inspired watch. So if you're not familiar with Pagani, they make incredible quality watches. Is it, you know, some people ask me all the time, what's better quality between this and that? When we're looking at these Chinese branded companies, or these Chinese companies, the quality they're producing is amazing. And we are living in the modern world where you don't have to spend $10,000, $5,000 to get amazing quality. Sure, if you, let me beat the horse dead again. With every video when it comes to watches, I have to be the advocate for the affordable watch brands. Swiss-made brands, all that meant something at one point. Go back 20, 30 years, Swiss-made meant something. Nowadays, it's just a marketing tactic, right? People who say Swiss-made, you can get Swiss-made watches that aren't even made in Switzerland. Invicta does it, lots of brands do it. If the movement falls under the criteria, which is extremely loose, you can be Swiss-made. And there is no difference in that quality. Yes, maybe on paper, maybe they've, maybe there's a little bit of a quality control there, but it doesn't mean you're getting something you're going to pick up and say, oh man, Swiss-made, I can feel the difference. Absurd, absolutely absurd. You're just not going to feel different. So rest assured, you buy a brand like Pagani, you're getting insane quality. Now, Pagani mainly makes watches that are homage watches, right? Copies, but they're not violating any kind of copyright laws, right? So they're not saying that this is a Panerai. They're not putting a Luminor on it. Whereas other brands out there, they're a little more, they might name, for instance, like Rolex. They might call a Rolex a Folex, right? It's still a little Rolex. It's meant to fool people, right? It's meant to look like a Rolex, but they're not breaking any laws. You can't, I should say can't, but for the most part, you can't like copyright style, right? So you can just basically make a subtle change and say, oh, it's different. And so that's the same thing with like branding. So what Pagani does though is they kind of really change a few things, right? They could have really tried to make this a one-to-one, and the only difference they've done was say Pagani as opposed to Panerai. With this particular watch, they've done it a little different. They changed the crown, so the crown the crown protector doesn't have that fold over kind of lock that a lot of the Panerais have. I do believe Panerai makes one that's like this, so they've kind of done their own thing. They've copied the bezel almost down to a one-to-one. But remember, if I misspeak here, there are other Panerais that look different. There are ones that don't have the power reserve. There are ones that don't have, what else? The date at the 6 o'clock position. So again, it's not meant to be one-to-one. They're saying, hey, we're going to do our own thing a little bit here, but if you like a Panerai, you like that look, and you want that vibe, this is going to be a great watch for you. Quality on Panerai or Pagani, amazing. I honestly, in my heart, don't think you're going to pick up a Panerai and compare it to a Pagani and say, oh my God, wow, this Panerai really, you can feel the difference. I just don't believe that in my heart at all. I feel like, maybe there was a time where you want to pick up, I think something more realistic, if you were to go back 20, 30 years, pick up a $20 like Tyrese off Amazon and compare that to like a Rolex, right? Like a Swiss-made Rolex from back 20 years ago. You're going to pick them up and be like, yep, I can see this Swiss-made difference. I can see this Rolex difference. I can see this Panerai difference. Nowadays, these Chinese companies have become so good. Modern machining is so good that it's really hard to tell the difference in quality. And anybody who says otherwise is either really just has like an emotional interest, they have a financial interest, or they just don't really want to admit that they bought something for the brand name, for the prestige of wearing that name, right? I just don't see the point in spending that much money. I've seen so many watches. I have like 280 in my collection. Again, no Rolexes, no Panerais, but I've seen so many. I've talked to so many people, and honest people will tell you there's very little difference in quality. Maybe on the inside, more attention to detail, more hand finishing, more time involved in producing something, but let me ask you this. Why is there a lot of robotics involved in the automobile manufacturing industry, right? Why is that? Because it's faster, because it's more efficient, because it's cheaper, and because robots do it better, right? I don't know where people get the idea that handmade is somehow better. I don't understand that. Maybe there was a point where that was true when robotics were like really new and computerized systems were really new. You humans cannot compete with robotics. I'm a little concerned with the AI thing, right? I mean, they do everything better. I mean, so anybody who says differently, I just don't, I'm not saying, this is not, I'm not advocating for AI. I'm just saying that there are some things that we need human involvement in, absolutely. And there are some things that, maybe a robot at this point can't really determine should I or shouldn't do that. But when it comes to like saying, make this and make it good quality, like that, the robot doesn't get tired. The modern machining doesn't fail. It stays the same unless something breaks, right? It's incredible. And that's why modern machining can produce stuff like this for $100, $105. This is why. It wasn't possible 20, 30 years ago. It is now. So these watch snobs need to get off their soapbox and come back to planet Earth and face reality that those days are gone. So incredible quality. You get a Pagani Design, you're gonna love it. And if you like Panerai, you're gonna dig this for $105. I mean, unbelievable. Now, as far as the movement in this does have a movement that's called a caliber. I just had it. Where did it go? Caliber 2C10. Now, I'm not sure who makes that movement or if that's just like a Seagull copy. We do have a large, kind of cool Pagani carved out rotor in this. We do have a date. We do have a second dial. And we do have a power reserve. Very cool. Dig it. Totally dig it. I'm glad they didn't just throw an NH35 in there, because Pagani's not really looking to really copy the Panerai. They've they're letting you know that by putting this huge engraved Pagani Design logo on the side. Something which I know a lot of folks will not like. Some folks won't buy that because of this. But, I've heard it for years. I wish Invicta didn't put the... I mean, if you don't like it, like, just don't buy the watch, right? I mean, some guys go as far as, like, removing this. I can't imagine... to me, this does not bother me enough that I would have to go through the process of like trying to grind this down to refinish it for $105. I just don't see the point. Again, to each your own. Some people like little projects, but no, I'm not going to wear this on my wrist and be like, oh my God, that Pagani design on the side really bothers me. But it is a little bit outside of character for Pagani, since a lot of their watches don't even say Pagani. They'll just put the logo smack dab in the middle and eliminate a lot of the branding. So it is interesting they did that on this. It's not something they're usually used to doing, but they have, I'm not going to say over branded this watch, because that is, to feel that is subjective or think that. I think it's fine. Would I prefer them not to put that on the side? Sure, or put it on the side with their standard font. They did kind of like this cursive that, to me, when I first got it, I thought it was like a sticker on the side. It was just not just outside of character for them, but just because it is that kind of cursive design, that signature, I would rather them left that off. But nothing that would persuade me from buying this watch. Now, I did not buy this watch, and I convinced Pagani to collaborate with me, which I'm glad they did, because I've been a fan of their watches for a long time. And Pagani needs guys like me. All these watch brands need guys like me who love watches, who genuinely appreciate all watches, and wants to be honest about the quality you get with brands like this, and not going to go comparing them to a real Panerai and say, oh, look at this little, because a lot of times when people do that, they're almost convincing themselves there's this insane difference. They convince themselves that the differences in $10,000 watches is much larger than it actually is. And the average person is going to pick up those two watches and say, geez, I'm having a hard time telling a difference. So what do you get with this? You get that kind of movement, which I don't know anything about. Drop a comment if you know more about it. It's probably a copy of a different movement. It might be a Seagull movement. It might be just a Chinese kind of branded movement, but I think it's beautiful. It's actually finished. We have a lot of that. I'm not sure what technique it's called, but where you have like these kind of spirals kind of engraved into the movement. It gives kind of a beautiful kind of shimmery look to it. It is a 26 jewel movement. Again, you have that cool carved out, chiseled out Pagani Design rotor. Totally dig it. Got the seconds hand, you got the your standard time, date window, and that cool power reserve. Bezel on this is very ratchety, it's louder. The other one's very easy to turn though. Your fingers can grip this with ease. A little tiny bit of back play. I only mention that not because it bothers me, but because I know guys who are watching watch reviews look for stuff like that. But I mean, it's like, I don't even know. I mean, you can barely see it, hardly anything. Would you get that on a real Panerai? Probably not. I don't know, but probably not. But That's a difference that doesn't bother me at all. On this particular watch, you get a canvas strap. Not a huge fan of canvas, but I like. I wish this had more of like the silicone that you're used to seeing on a lot of the Panerais. But again, I'm not a fan of any of those. And I think that it is smart for Pagani to put it on canvas. This isn't going to break down. I talk to more and more people that have silicone, that have that rubber, that eventually it dry rots and it falls apart. Heard it many times. I'm not sure if that's every single strap like that, but I've heard it many times. I've had it happen on one of my Sterling watches. Didn't even wear the watch, just in the case, it disintegrated. So you're not going to have about this. The good thing about this watch is that you have a standard lug width of 22 millimeters. That allows you to get endless supply of bracelets and bands. And speaking of bracelets, I ordered a Homage Panerai bracelet. It'll be here in a couple days from China, stainless steel. Beautiful. I love the Panerai bracelet. It's second to none. It's something that they've created. I can't think of any other watch brand that makes anything that looks like that. It is a great looking bracelet. It's going to look fantastic on this and really take this watch to the next level to really make it more Panerai-ish, right? 120 click bezel, silicone. It says silicone strap. This is not a silicone strap. This description is obviously wrong. It says here 41 millimeter case diameter. I think a lot of the Panerais are 44. They went a little smaller. I wish they would have went 44, but I think it's smart for Pagani because most people, 41 is kind of like the sweet spot for many folks. So some folks will look at this and be like, ooh, it's 44, I don't like it, you know, too big. It's really 44, it's not that big. But, you know, again, you just come from a guy who wears 70 millimeter. I like all size watches, but I get why they did it. It's smart. What else? Sapphire crystal. We do have, again, a lot of Pagani logos on this, and we do have the Pagani logo on kind of a very nice clasp on this, nice stainless steel. I like that they did this rather than, I don't know, this is definitely something you're going to find closer to what a dive strap would look like on a Panerai. And what else? It does have an AR coating, silicone glass. Probably said that 3 times already. As far as color options, I'm going to throw these up here. You do have black, blue, green, and like a gray. Those particular straps have kind of like a fade down the middle. You'll see in the picture. I went with the all black. Again, this strap will be coming off. That sweet stainless steel. I'm going to put the link in the description to this watch on Amazon and on AliExpress. A lot of folks don't want to order on AliExpress because they think like, oh, I'm going to get scammed. This is the official Pagani store I'm going to link you to. You're not going to get scammed, and you're going to get this. I got this within 10 days. So shipping time is great. You really can't lose. So without further ado, I'm going to throw it in the wrist. I have a 7-inch wrist. I weigh about 172 pounds. For me, this bracelet or this strap is going on the second to last or second to smallest hole here, or slot, if I can get it on. So that might be something to think about if you are going to buy this, because on a 7-inch wrist, I'm almost down to the smallest hole. And in all honesty, if I want to wear this a little tighter, I could bring this down. So I would say really minimum wrist size in this is 6 3/4 inches. That's pretty close. Again, you may be able to squeeze it on, your body swells and doesn't swell, you know, all that. But again, for this watch, you can get many, many different straps. You probably have straps laying around the house. So check it out. 41 millimeter, 7-inch wrist. It is a stunning looking watch. And remember, folks, even if you are one of my Invicta fans who love the big watches and are like, oh, you know, I can only wear, you know, a 50 millimeter watch. You know, so this is a great, look at the wrist presence on a 7-inch wrist. 41 still looks fantastic. Beautiful watch. All right, folks, well, that's it. I want to thank Pagani Design for their generosity and collaborating with Fat Cat Collections. If you guys have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'm here to help you guys out. Use the links in the description. Let me know what you think, and have a fantastic day.